Romyx back with another video. I hope you guys all enjoyed today's video. As the title suggests, this is What If Naruto Had a Dojutsu Part 7. And this is basically the first episode into Shippuden, so I hope you guys don't mind. And I hope this doesn't feel too rushed into it. I think about 7 parts to get into Shippuden is quite fair. But with that being said, Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, Jiraiya, and Kakashi would all be much stronger, but in particular, Naruto, Sasuke, Jiraiya, and Kakashi would return to the village, as Sakura currently has done her training with Tsunade, who at this point is the current Hokage, because for reasons, he's getting a bit old. He decided to step down, and train the next generation, basically. And he's kind of lived a pretty good life, but he is not dead yet. Naruto would then return as basically there was going to be a sort of battle test where Naruto and Sasuke would meet Sakura, catch up a little, as they would then have a battle test where Sakura goes up against Tsunade, Kakashi goes up against Sasuke, and Jiraiya goes up against Naruto. And with that would basically be this new battle test where each person has a battle test. And I'll try to explain this a little bit deeper as we go. But with that being said, Jiraiya has 2 bells, Kakashi has 2 bells, and Tsunade has 2 bells. As long as Sakura can get Tsunade's bells, as long as Sasuke can get Kakashi's bells, and as long as Naruto can get Jiraiya's bells, they all pass. As such, immediately, they would all rush towards their quote-unquote opponents, as it would be a pretty wholesome fight, at least in my opinion. This fight would go on for about 10 minutes, as all of them would be pretty tired at this point, as they've been going all out. Eventually, Naruto would decide to unleash a bit more power against Jiraiya, and Sasuke would do the same. Sasuke would activate his 3 Tomoe, and Naruto would activate his 3 Tomoe, but not only his 3 Tomoe, but also his Rinnegan. This was basically Naruto's favorite combination of his dojutsus, because it kind of basically allowed him to bring out all of his power. Naruto would then activate attack mode as he would appear behind Jiraiya, grabbing him. He would then create a shadow clone, which would use a Rasengan on Jiraiya, slamming him into a tree. But before Jiraiya could land and basically just, pass out, be injured, or anything of the sort, Naruto would put his hand on Jiraiya's back with his right hand, and with his left, he would grab the bells. Jiraiya would then be in shock of how strong Naruto was and how fast he had matured from the, short knucklehead he knew a few years ago, since about 4 years have passed. Jiraiya would then congratulate Naruto on getting the bells, as at this very moment, Sasuke had been in sword duel with Kakashi. Sasuke would then get behind Kakashi, grabbing him, as he would then knee Kakashi in his thigh, causing Kakashi to fall to the ground. Kakashi would quickly do a backflip, landing on his feet, as Naruto would then keenly watch this fight to see if Sasuke had any quote-unquote tricks up his sleeve. Sasuke would then jump into the air, firing an Uchiha-style fireball jutsu, as Kakashi would fire off a fireball jutsu to counter. These jutsus would basically just expel each other, as both of the jutsus would diminish into thin air. Sasuke would then quickly appear beside Kakashi, as Kakashi had never witnessed such speed. Sasuke's whole body would now be ignited with lightning style, as it had seemed that he now had a lightning armor of sorts. Sasuke would then whisper into Kakashi's ear that it's over, as Kakashi would shake his head. It's over for you. Kakashi would then activate the Mangekyo, because he has learned to use the Mangekyo over these 4 years, and he's kind of trained it a little with the help of Sasuke as well. Since I don't think it's too, stretched out, if you will, to say that Kakashi has the Mangekyo right now, since he did get the Mangekyo in the canon. He even had it as early as the Datara fight, so it is what it is. Kakashi would then try to use Kamui to basically just suck away all the lightning armor, but it had seemed that Sasuke was pouring in so much lightning chakra that it was almost as if it was endless in a way. And Sasuke's reserves had gone up a lot, if you will. Sasuke would then slam Kakashi into a few trees as he would get behind Kakashi, and in the interval of Kakashi basically falling to the ground, he would grab the bells, basically surprising Kakashi, and he would be applauded for it by Jiraiya. Whereas Sakura right now has used one of her strongest attacks, punching the ground and creating a mini earthquake, which put Tsunade off balance, as Sakura would create a few clones to surround Tsunade so that she didn't know which one was the real one, as they would all basically bombard Tsunade using the gang up tactic, if you will, to grab the bells. And with that, all of them have passed the bell test. All of their senseis, if you will, would basically just, sorry for saying if you will a lot, would basically just applaud them all for their great effort and how powerful they have gotten over the 4-year time skip. But as soon as basically they got, I guess you could say, a moment of solitude and peace, if you will, as they had basically been able to go over to their friends and introduce themselves back again, if you will, and do many things, really. But eventually they would be called to the Sand Village. An emergency was called because after winning the bell test, Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke were assigned by Tsunade to a 3-man squad and kind of a 4-man squad because their leader, I guess, would be Kakashi. But at this current moment, Deidara has dropped a C3 explosion over Sunagakure, as Gaara's efforts to protect his village left him vulnerable to attack, which would also mean that Gaara is now in critical condition and has basically lost to Deidara, unfortunately for him. The Leaf would then arrive at the Sand Village as everybody would be distraught and kind of fearful for this random organization and this man with red clouds on his cloak. Kankuro would get into action, as despite his former sensei, kind of sensei still, Baki's efforts to stop him, Kankuro would set out to rescue Gaara, who's been whisked away by Deidara and Sasori. But as Team Kakashi deployed, Kankuro proves to be no match for Sasori's scorpion-like tail. Meanwhile, Tsunade has basically approved for them to rescue the Kazekage. They would then try to rescue him from Gaara, as Naruto would go into a bit of a rage, just like he had in canon, but not at the sight of his, I guess you could say, friend being dead, because Gaara isn't really dead yet, but he's basically just on Deidara's bird. After that, they would then basically just be able to retrieve Gaara from Deidara. I don't think Naruto is losing this fight. He's actually doing pretty well, and he doesn't even need to use his QB rage, if you will, to overpower Deidara. He's basically able to do this even without it, as he would be able to basically just body Deidara and just utterly annihilate him. And he almost left Deidara dead, unable to even use chakra. Deidara was. So he's basically kind of disabled at the moment. Doesn't mean he's disabled forever. Naruto would then grab Gaara, as eventually Chio would appear, trying to heal Gaara with Sakura, but it was to no avail. Gaara was not able to be healed, as the secret of the Jinchuriki would be revealed. At this point, Team Guy is also here, as Team Kakashi and Team Guy would realize their recent battles were only distractions. Chio would also inform them that the Jinchuriki extraction process can be fatal, so if Gaara was taken by Deidara and he is now in a basically sleep-like state, that would mean that Shukaku is now out of Gaara and that he is soon to die. Everybody would be shocked there, but especially Naruto. And basically, at this point, everything has been revealed. By that I mean Sasori's true face has been revealed, Deidara has been defeated, Gaara is now said to be dead, as Sakura, Chio, and Kakashi at this point would be fighting Sasori. They would then take them down like they had in the original, but I also feel like this Sakura is going to be a lot stronger. Why, you may be asking? Why would, quote-unquote, as the fandom calls her, uselessness be so powerful or stronger than she is in the canon? Well, it's simply due to the fact that she had promised and made a very strong promise to Naruto that she would basically get stronger, and so I have no reason to say why she wouldn't, and why she wouldn't push herself even further. than she did in canon, that is. Anyhow, Gaara would then be basically clinically pronounced dead by Chiyo, as their fight with Sasori is now ended. And Sasori has also told them about the info of, like, Kabuto being a spy and all that information. Anyhow, Naruto would then go into a rage as he was not able to control himself in his quote-unquote tangent, as he would basically see Sakura fail to bring Gaara back to life with Chiyo. Kakashi would then use a seal that Jiraiya gave him to suppress Naruto's nine-tailed chakra fox, or fox chakra, if you will, as Chiyo, relying on Naruto's chakra, would perform the transmigration jutsu, I believe. Sorry for the stutter there. I'm just not too sure if that's the right jutsu, but I believe it's called the transmigration jutsu. Correct me if I'm wrong. On Gaara, a technique that carries a heavy cost. That cost is Chiyo's life. Team Kakashi and Team Guy would then return Gaara to Sunagakure, as Naruto would be very pleased that Gaara had survived, but he would also kind of distraught about Chiyo being dead, but he realized that it was for the greater good. Gaara is much younger than Chiyo, so, he might be able to accomplish a lot more, and he should in theory. B, Chiyo was already on the verge of death, or the verge of collapse, because she had just gone in an all-out fight with Sasori, and the Kazekage is still alive. There's 3 reasons why it was a better, I guess you could say, alternative, as Naruto is now in a state of happy but sad but not happy, a middle ground of sorts. Anyhow, the Sand Village would be amazed that Gaara had survived, as the new Team Kakashi would then form. But this new Team Kakashi has no Sai. I'm not putting Sai here because, Sasuke is still in the village. There's really no reason for Sai, at least in my opinion, as Team Kakashi would then track, but also Team Kakashi has Yamato on it, currently at least, instead of Kakashi. But anyhow, Team Kakashi would then track Kabuto's, basically, I guess you could say, escort or spy mission, if you will. It's kind of hard to explain, so I'm a bit sorry for that. But, yeah. Anyhow, Naruto would then be very enraged at that by Orochimaru's taunts, as Sasuke, Naruto, and Yamato, as well as Sakura, would be forced to come out and basically just fight Orochimaru and Kabuto. Naruto would then transform into his 3-tailed state, as he would get a grip on his anger, as he would then tell Orochimaru that he should be, I guess you could say, very scared. Orochimaru at this point has been able to break out of the Leaf's custody because he was kind of in prison, and he's basically regrouped with Kabuto and the Sound 4, and he's gotten a bit stronger, but I don't think he's strong enough to defeat Naruto in this timeline, especially since Naruto has also gotten a bit, but not even a bit, a lot stronger. 4 years to train is a lot. And Orochimaru has only been free from the Leaf's custody for a year, so he's only had a year to actually train. So that's a bit of a downside. Orochimaru would immediately create about 3 shadow clones, as he would also realize that what he thought to be a failed experiment, that being Yamato, had actually survived. Orochimaru would not only bite Sasuke again, but he would also bite Naruto again. Naruto did not really care about this because he knew that he could easily kind of, just take it off in a way. And he also didn't care about Sasuke being bit because he knew he could also take off the curse mark from him with his Kyuubi chakra, which should in theory be able to eat away at it. But little did Naruto and Sasuke know that at least the one on Sasuke was permanent. It was not really able to be, just eaten away by Nine-Tails chakra, at least not as easy. So they were kind of at a loss, but they didn't really know this. Sasuke would then grit his teeth as he fell into a great deal of pain, similar to the pain that he had felt years ago in the Forest of Death. Anyhow, eventually I feel that this fight is just gonna be dragged on, as Naruto would kind of just rip into Orochimaru, defeating him right there and then, and basically just killing him. But Orochimaru is still gonna survive. How is he gonna survive? The way that he survived, I guess you could say, in the Itachi versus Sasuke fight. He was able to, in a way, revive himself through the curse mark. So I have no doubt that he would be able to revive himself through some of the stronger Sound 4 members. And in this timeline, he's going to revive himself through Tayuya, who isn't the strongest Sound 4 member at the moment, but she's also not the weakest. Orochimaru would now be alive and well, but he knew he wasn't strong enough, so he needed to gain strength somehow. As such, he would basically just continue to work on one of his projects, and a very secretive project, which we know as Shin, an Uchiha-like being who possesses many Sharingan, both on his body, his arms, his head, and his eyes. Anyhow, eventually, Sasuke would decide to basically infiltrate Orochimaru, and a lot would change here. I don't see Sai being on this team, so Sasuke's kind of going to have to play Sai's role, and I also do see a lot changing, though, since Orochimaru has been set back on his plans to basically retrieve Sasuke, because it was shown that Kabuto kind of had an understanding of him being quote-unquote tricked, but since Sasuke is not with Kabuto and Orochimaru, and he's not on Orochimaru's side, a lot is going to be different. So I apologize if this storyline is not similar to Shippuden, but I also don't apologize because, well, this is a what if. Anyhow, as they got back to the village, because for the sake of the what if, everything is going to go the same, but instead of Sai playing, I guess you could say, the part that he would have to, like, infiltrate Orochimaru and stuff, Sasuke is going to do it. But with that being said, everything's going to go the same until we get to Naruto's wind training. Naruto already knows the wind chakra release, so he would just be adding wind chakra to his Rasengan. He'd also experiment, because he has the time to, with lightning chakra and basically adding it to his Rasengan, which would create that Chidori. Naruto would then try one more chakra nature to add to his Rasengan, which would be fire style. This would create a Vermilion-like Rasengan, which Naruto tested out on basically a few trees. These trees would be non-existent when Naruto slammed his Rasengan into him, but his hand felt a bit numb from pain. Naruto was curious on why the offset of the attack had made his hand basically, numb and kind of useless for a bit, as Naruto had chopped it up as being a bit of a, side effect of using such a powerful jutsu. Naruto would then talk about this jutsu to Tsunade, who would classify the Rasen Shuriken as an S-rank jutsu, and would also classify the, I guess you could say, Fire Rasengan. Naruto's going to call this thing the Fiery Rasengan. And Tsunade would classify this as a S-rank jutsu. But due to its side effect, it kind of is in between A and S. So it's not like fully S, if you kind of get what I'm saying. But anyhow, since there's a lot of filler in Naruto, we're not going to be covering the filler. I hope you guys didn't think I was going to be covering the filler. But anyhow, Kakuzu and Hidan would then basically, enter the Leaf Village, or sorry, not the Leaf Village, the Land of Fire, my apologies, as the Akatsuki would kind of have their quote-unquote invasion. Team Asuma and Team Kakashi would then be sent out to basically check this situation out, as I believe here the events of the canon would unfold. By that I mean that Asuma would die to Hidan. Since Naruto's not really there to change the course of the story, I still do see Asuma dying there, as well as the fact that Shikamaru's going to get a lot of character development here, as well as the other members of Team Asuma. But after that, we would have a fight between Kakuzu and Naruto, as Naruto would be enraged here seeing Hidan's face. But Shikamaru is going to be the one to defeat Hidan, just like in the canon. Kakuzu, in my opinion, is still going to fight and have a very long fight with Kakashi, but not only Kakashi, but Sasuke as well. The brunt of these two's attacks would be enough to make Kakuzu have to go basically full power, and with many high-ranking ninja, Chunin and Jonin and the like Neji, Shikamaru, Choji, etc., and Naruto, of course, being around, I don't see Kakuzu being able to defeat them all, so we would see Kakuzu's demise as he basically unleashed his full power and went into that weird form where he kind of has like his head's out or his heart's out, where I think you guys know what I'm talking about. But Naruto used the wind style Rasen Shuriken on him, as this is the first time that Team Asuma would get to see it, and other members of Team 7 who aren't, well, Kakashi. But by the end of that, Naruto would realize the price of the Rasen Shuriken and actually using it on an opponent, since he had been forced to use it 2 times since Asuma had dodged his initial strike. Tsunade would then inspect Naruto's arm, as Tsunade would make a tough decision about Naruto's new jutsu, the wind style Rasen Shuriken. This decision was that Naruto should not be able to use it, so Naruto would decide that he needs to train to be able to use it in a way. But word was also spread that Orochimaru's hideout had been found by Sasuke, as Sasuke's name would grow throughout the lands as being able to survive from Orochimaru. But at this point, I don't see that being too big of a feat, since Sasuke is far above Orochimaru at this point, at least in my opinion. But soon enough, I think that you guys will see some new information that may make this a bit different, and it may make Orochimaru's strength a lot stronger. But with that being said, I do not see Sasuke forming Team Taka because he is allied with the Leaf Village at the moment. We would get Kakashi's backstory about the Third Great Ninja War and about Obito and Rin. But with that being said, Orochimaru's, well, I guess you could say fake death would spread throughout the world, as the leader of the Akatsuki, known as Pain, would warn Itachi that Sasuke may be coming after him. Itachi already knew such a thing, as he had kind of, Genjutsu Naruto to train Sasuke, so that Sasuke could kill Itachi. Here, I do not see Sasuke fighting Deidara, not at all, because, well, Deidara is kind of already dead. He's not necessarily dead, but he has been taken by the Stone Village, which is his native village, and through an agreement of both villages, that being the Leaf and the Stone, Deidara has been placed within the Stone Village's custody. After that, we would kind of get the backstory, at least if you were watching Shippuden, we would get the backstory of Yahiko, Jiraiya, Konan, and Nagato. But since we're not watching Shippuden and we're kind of actually doing a real fight, if you will, and this fight is Jiraiya versus Pain. Jiraiya, now facing 3 Pains, would be very pressed, as a frustrated Jiraiya stalls for time as the 2 great sages Fukasaku and Shima devise a plan of attack. Though, I did state that Jiraiya was a lot stronger from training with Naruto and Kakashi, as well as Sasuke, so I do believe he's actually gonna be able to defeat these 6 paths, right? I actually might even say he takes the win or the dub, right? Some of you guys may not agree with me, but I think that Jiraiya actually can pull this off, but he does lose an arm, and his back really hurts. His old age is starting to catch up a little. But with that being said, Jiraiya was outmatched, but I do see him winning here. Maybe I'm wrong to make that assumption that he is going to win, but at this point, Jiraiya would then return to the Leaf, as a few Anbu would kind of take him back, as at this point, Jiraiya's just passed out. New paths of Pain would kind of be on the way of being assembled by Nagato, who would be angered that his former sensei had been able to beat him and his paths of Pain. Sasuke, like I said before, had set out on a mission, basically, to defeat Itachi and just, kill him, as he would start his battle with Itachi. In the original, Itachi had his little, I guess you could say, mirage-type genjutsu on Sasuke and stuff of the sort, as Sasuke would be fighting Itachi with most of his power. This fight would be like it was in the original. I don't see too much changing, but for the sole fact and for the sole sake of plot, Sasuke is beating Itachi, and it's not even fully on plot, and Sasuke's just strong enough to do so. And yes, Itachi's illness still kills him here, but it would be a very wholesome moment for Sasuke to know that he had avenged his clan, and Sasuke would also figure out the truth about Itachi. But Itachi died, you may be asking. Well, Itachi would use a genjutsu before all of his chakra was basically drained, and basically the chakra that he was holding onto to survive in the original before just, dying would actually be used on two things. First, to activate the Amaterasu within Sasuke's eyes, and second, to be able to tell Sasuke everything. Obito does not need to explain this stuff. Naruto would then go looking for Sasuke, as Sasuke at this point has been taken in by Obito. But he would start to tell, I guess you would say, the quote-unquote story, the truth, if you will. And since this is in really Obito, this is kind of Madara, but it's actually Obito. You get the point I'm trying to make. Sasuke would see this as being Madara Uchiha, as he would reveal the secret behind the Uchiha massacre. Sasuke would already know this information and would know that the elders had kind of ordered him to do so he didn't really care and would leave Obito's custody, if you will. And after doing so, he would not fight Killer Bee. I see no reason for Sasuke to even go after Killer Bee. At this point, he's actually just going to return to the Leaf Village. But I do think that this part has gone on pretty long. And yeah, so this has been What If Naruto Had a Dojutsu, or had all Dojutsu, my apologies, part 7. Hope you guys all enjoyed. Make sure to like, share the video to a friend, and like my content in general. Subscribe if you're new here, as I want to hit 9,000 subscribers by the end of August and 14K by the end of the year. And with that being said, Rami X.